All right. Hey everybody, how's it going? I put a lot of work into this, so I hope it turns out good. I'm just gonna sit here and see if anybody else shows up. Like I said, this is a live broadcast. For those that see this on my website, unfortunately, it will not be live. It'll be a pre-recording. Like I said, I got a lot of information here, so gotta put my cell phone over there. It's got my comments. If anybody doesn't, if anybody wants to talk during the show, I can interact with you that way too. 5 o'clock. How about I wait 5 minutes? I'll wait 5 minutes. And then we can jump into it. Alright. Let me go get something to drink real quick out of the fridge. I'll be right back. Okay. Oh. Toothpaste and Gatorade do not go well together. About 3 more minutes. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. So Friday, and it's 5 o'clock, so hopefully some of you are off work or getting off right about now. Is there anybody in here right now? How I would know is if you were on Twitch and you had an account, you can comment. If you don't have an account, don't worry about it. I know I sent a link out in my Facebook and my Twitter. So some people, might be a relative or a friend, just doesn't have Twitch. I understand. You don't need to go out and get an account just because I want you to know if anybody's here. Two more minutes. I don't know about you guys, but it's been pretty gloomy out. one more minute. We can get started. Get one more drink of Gatorade before I start. Alright. Let's begin. So, we're going over Week 8 today. Now, this does not include Miami and New England, and Detroit and Kansas City. The reason I did not do that is because this is a fantasy lineup, and I like to focus more on Sunday matchups. So, anything down below is what we're covering today. Alright, you ready? Let's go. So, Cincinnati is a 2.5 point favorite. Now, the odds may have changed for each and every one of these, and they're likely to change again. However, this was what I found out when I researched it. So, as it stands right now, 2.5 favorite over Pittsburgh. Time possession is a very good factor to know, because when you're dealing with time of possession, it is a rule that, and this may or may not be true, but I like to believe it is, that if a team has a 1 minute time of possession over an opponent, they are 22% more likely to win the game. That being said, there are close to 40%. Now, like I said, grain of salt, you don't want to believe everything that you hear, but it is a good thing to go off of, because, I mean, it definitely helps to have the ball longer. Last week I saw Pittsburgh. They had the ball a lot. I put a lot of thought into Martavis Bryant, knowing that Roethlisberger would be out, and third string Landry Jones would come in. Turns out he threw the ball to Antonio Brown a lot, so I was kind of out of the water. But the biggest problem that I had was Pittsburgh did not have the ball as long as I wanted it to. So I cannot remember who the opponent was last week, but they had the ball, and I mean, they were just running the clock down. It was like 6-7 minutes per possession, and it wasn't good. My bet was horribly off because of that. So AJ Green is, he's kind of still in the running of being the number 1 wide receiver. Now, he does get the ball a lot more than Eifert. But you also have to consider, how many touchdowns does Eifert have? You know, it's something different when a wide receiver gets the ball more, but they're not focused more in the end zone. It could be the fact that Eifert gets the ball more because, you know, in the past 3 weeks or so, he's been getting it more, or the fact that Dalton favors him in the end zone more for like over-the-shoulder passes and things like that. So, Eifert is definitely one of my favorites. I don't know how you can go wrong with him, but given a 2.5 point favorite, it can get a little bit hasty because, you know, time possession is only good if you know who the opponent is and what time possession they've had their whole season. So you don't really have a lot to go off of in that nature. But Tyler Eifert, I mean, I feel like he could have a breakthrough game this week. Giovanni Bernard leads the rushes. However, Jeremy Hill, 2 touchdowns to 5 touchdowns. So it's kind of like pick your poison, you know. If you feel like they are going to be favored more, pick them. But another thing to consider is the offense and defense. So let's get back to Pittsburgh. So Le'Veon Bell, course, you know, he's a workhorse. I graduated with the guy. 103 attempts for 3 touchdowns. That is the most that any running back has gotten on Pittsburgh. And that is also good because that means that the running back relies more in the whole game, not just 1 touchdown off of 80 attempts. So you can kind of say that he is favored in the whole game aspect rather than just the 20 yards in the red zone. Roethlisberger, he was out. However, in a report, they're saying that he has had a full participation in practice and is expected to play. The Steelers have been limited to 25 points a game without him. That's not good. But Roethlisberger is expected to be back in, so it can kind of relieve your worries. I think that with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, that might be why the 2.5 deficit is that and not 7 points. Because I honestly believe that without Brown or Bell, it's not looking good. But also the time possession is on their side by 2 minutes, which is really good. But Antonio Brown, 2 touchdowns. Martavis Bryant has 3 touchdowns, but Martavis Bryant had that with the Landry Jones breakthrough when it was a new quarterback coming in. He didn't know anybody. He was comfortable throwing it to Martavis. So Martavis Bryant got the touchdowns in that respect. Now, who's to say that Roethlisberger won't favor Martavis Bryant? But knowing Roethlisberger, he's going to favor Brown and Bell. So let's get into the offense and defense. The Bengals, 3rd in yards compared to the Steelers' 24th in yards. That can be a red flag, considering A.J. Green, Tyler Eifert, Jeremy Hill. But let's get into something else. They're 5th in passing and 27th in passing allowed. So that just says right there, they don't have a good pass defense. Now, like I said, considering what season they've had, Pittsburgh, what teams they've played, you know, it can determine what they are looking at. But knowing Cincinnati, I feel like they're going to go and get the job done. No doubt about it. They are 12th in rush, and they are 8th in rush allowed. So that, I don't want to say that Jeremy Hill or Bernard are not going to get the ball a lot, but when someone is favored in rushing defense, and it doesn't look that good to me. Now, I'm wrong time and time again because there are teams that don't care about the stats or the ranking. They just want to get their own rhythm and get their flow back. They could have a breakthrough game with their running backs. I'm not the judge of that. I can't tell you yes or no. Bengals are 3rd in points. Steelers are 7th in points allowed. So it could be a low-scoring game, which should also be why Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite and not a 7-pointer. They are 5th in turnovers, which, I'll be honest with you guys, I have no clue what the hell that means, because I want to say that they're 5th in not producing turnovers, but why would an offense be good at not producing turnovers? I don't know what it means, if it's good or if it's bad. It's a very important factor, I know that, but I do not know for the life of me what that means. So I apologize. I know you're probably mad at me for it, but I'm going to do more research next week and I'll come back with better stuff. So the Steelers offense, They're pretty even, 19th in yards, 22nd in yards allowed, which means they're going to keep doing what they want to do, more than likely with the pass, with Antonio Brown, Bryant, stuff like that. Maybe even Marcus Wheaton. I don't know. I can't determine that. However, they are 9th in rushing, which is a breakthrough thing for Le'Veon Bell. He's already got 3 touchdowns. He leads the team in touchdowns. What more can you expect from Le'Veon Bell when they're 16th in rushing allowed? However, they're 18th in points. Bengals are 11th in points allowed. So, when you have to think about that, you have to think about, well, Le'Veon might get the ball a lot, but will he get in the end zone a lot? And if they're 11th in points out of 32 teams, that's a third of the league. Knowing how good Cincinnati is at keeping possession and staying on track of the points, being good at producing points, I don't know how that's going to work out. It could definitely backfire. Also, Steelers are 4th in turnovers. Bengals are 15th in turnovers. So one thing to look at, Roethlisberger is probable this week. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown are healthy. On the other side, Cincinnati has 152 time possession, and they have 2.5 points of a favorite on the odds, which could change and may already be changed, but for right now, that's what we're going off of. They have Andy Dalton, who has thrown 14 touchdowns at a 67% rate. That is phenomenal. AJ Green has 3 touchdowns. Eifert has 6. So it'll be a matchup between Eifert and Green on who can produce more. Jeremy Hill, a solid running back. But in the sense of 74 to 77, like I said, got to figure out who's going to be in the lineup. They both can be in the lineup, but more than likely one's going to be in the beginning and one's just going to come in as a backup. So I would assume that Hill would be in the starting position, but I can't tell you. I don't know. So let's go to the next one. All right, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. This is very one-sided, and I don't want to sound biased, but Atlanta has a 7-point favorite, and they have a 339 time possession over Tampa Bay. Average. So this is just averages, guys. They have Julio Jones, who has caught most receptions and the most touchdowns more than any wide receiver in the team. Then running back Devontae Freeman has the most attempts as a running back and the most touchdowns as a running back. Matt Ryan, 64%, 9 touchdowns. It's pretty moderate. It's actually really good considering how many touchdowns Freeman has, because not a lot of running backs would have 9 touchdowns to their name. Other thing to consider, I do this saying that the green, yellow, red, the green means that they have the most, yellow means that they have the second most of that position, and the red means they have the least. So red means that they do not get enough touchdowns or receptions. Yellow means that they get kind of like a backup. And green means that they get the most. So, with that being said, Leonard Hankerson, $3,600. He's out this week. Let me get what my report says. William Hankerson, according to yardbarker.com, will miss this week's game. Justin Hardy will replace Hankerson this week. Debut game. So, Hardy is $3,000. Hasn't played a single game yet. However, sleeper alert, just something to think about. If you're willing to take a risk, Not a lot of people hear about him, of course. But let me see. Yep. So the defense, of course, $3,400. They are really good. As you can tell, time possession 3 minutes and 39 seconds. But we'll get into all of that later. As for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, $6,800, 21 receptions, 1 touchdown though, which is not good. That's not what we want. However, Doug Martin, 109 attempts, 3 touchdowns. So he leads the running backs on Tampa Bay at $5,500. Jameis Winston, 181, or I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I gotta replace that. 107 of 181, which will make that 59%. He's thrown for 9 touchdowns. So, it's not an acceptable season for him. And in this matchup, I definitely wouldn't favor him. But people take risks all the time. If you feel like that's a good option, go ahead. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just saying, in my opinion. Wide receiver Vincent Jackson is $4,900. He will be out this week. In a report by ButtsNation.com, Vincent Jackson will likely be out this week from a knee injury, though Austin Seferian-Jenkins is healthy once again. Butts Nation is saying that Seferian-Jenkins and report was hitting the blocking shed and catching the passes. So, being that Seferian-Jenkins is $2,800 and he will be in replacing Vincent Jackson, who is $4,900, I think that this is a safe bet. But, like I said, he's not going to get the ball a lot because time possession. 7-point favorite. So, there comes a time where is a running back running the ball a lot? Or they running the clock a lot? Judging off of Devontae Freeman, getting 131 attempts, I'd say yeah. I do not think that that's a good option, but if for some reason Tampa Bay just gets into a rhythm and can contain Freeman, and if it can contain Freeman and it can contain Julio Jones, I'm thinking that this is a really good matchup, because if Ryan has 9 touchdowns to this date, Julio Jones has 5 touchdowns, that means that either Julio Jones got open in all of those times, or he was just a favorite and Ryan just kept throwing to him. So, you need to make sure that Tampa Bay can lock down Atlanta by Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman. With that being said, Charles Sims, $3,600. He has 2 reception touchdowns, even though he is a running back. So that could be a good option for a flex. But then again, with Seferian-Jenkins and how are you doing, Twitch? So Charles Sims, $3,600. 2 reception touchdowns. I mean, given the time possession and how they will be favoring Austin Jenkins, it might not be a good option because Doug Martin is in there handling business like always. It doesn't seem like a good option, but then again, my opinion, not yours. Let's see the offense and defense. Atlanta is 5th in yards. Tampa Bay is 6th in yards allowed, which can be a big factor in how much time possession they actually have. Atlanta is 9th in passing. Tampa Bay is 5th in passing allowed. So, like I said, Julio Jones, it could be a good matchup. It really could, because all they have to do is secure Julio Jones and Justin Hardy, who was a newbie in the team. They're 5th in rushing, and Tampa Bay is 15th in rush allowed. So, Devontae Freeman might have a really good game. But then again, they're 16 yards allowed. So they could find a way to break up the defense or break up the offense. So it's just a really thin line on how far you want to go with it. But in my opinion, I think this might be a good matchup. They are 4th in points and 31st in points allowed. So it might not be a good game time possession-wise. However, if they are 31st in points and Atlanta's 4th in points, I'm really seeing a good option with like a deep ball or like a rushing, like a breakthrough rushing play by Devontae Freeman. But with the rushing and with the passing and the yards allowed, if there's 16 yards allowed, you really can't think that they're going to be running the ball a lot, unless Devontae Freeman is Devontae Freeman and finds a way to do it. Tampa Bay offense, they are 13th in yards, whereas Atlanta is 13th in yards allowed. That can be pretty interesting, considering that the time possession arrow is favored in Atlanta. You really don't want to put all your eggs in one basket with Tampa Bay, given that. But if Atlanta is good at getting the ball thrown quickly, which it seems like they're not, then Tampa Bay can be in a lot of trouble with that. They're 23rd in passing, and Atlanta is 25th in passing allowed, which can be really good, because you don't want Mike Evans, I don't think. You probably favor Safari Jenkins with the 2 touchdowns being in over Vincent Jackson. But it's just so hard to say that Tampa Bay is going to be amazing this week. But, given these stats and the rankings of how good they are defensively, I don't know what to say, So Tampa Bay is 4th in rushing. Atlanta is 2nd in rushing allowed. So not really probably going to see a lot of Doug Martin this week, unfortunately. Charles Sims could probably do an option route and get over, but I kind of don't see that happening this week. So overall, 13th in points allowed. So they're both kind of in that spectrum of, are these teams capable of producing points? Not Atlanta, of course, but Tampa Bay. Is this team capable of producing points in a passing game with Safari and Jenkins? I do not think so, but I cannot say no, because Jenkins is having a really good season. Even though he's only had 7 receptions, he's got 2 touchdowns off of it. And for that, you cannot rule the guy out. I do think that Atlanta's going to get the ball a lot more. They're going to try and run the clock down, and they're going to produce more points. Like, a lot. So let's get on to the next one. Alright, so we got Baltimore at San Diego. So, Justin Forsett, $6,100. He has 116 attempts, which is the most. Don't know why I didn't highlight that green. He has the most attempts in the team as a running back, and he has the most touchdowns on the team. Wide receiver Steve Smith Sr. is reportedly, according to numberfire.com, Steve Smith Sr., knee, was reportedly practicing with Ravens today and is expected to play. So, he's a probable, which is a good thing. But given that he was reportedly practicing, it's not a sign that he was practicing a lot. that he put in a full day's work, that he wasn't sitting on the sideline a lot. Given his importance on the Baltimore, I would like to favor him, because even though he might have an injured knee and can't run as well, or, if he gets banged up, they would probably find a way to get him open with screens. But, being probable, it's kind of hard to determine that. Joe Flacco, 62%, 9 touchdowns. I can't say anything bad about it, given that the running back has 2 touchdowns to his name. Yeah, that's all I can really say about it. 62%, I mean, it's pretty much the average anymore in the league. With wide receiver Kamar Aiken, 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He might get open a couple times, but given his 5 receptions, I really don't know. Because you got Crockett Gilmore with 18 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Jeremy Ross with 6 receptions, no touchdowns, which he might just be a done deal out of the game. But with Crockett Gilmore being $2,500 and Steve Smith being probable, I wouldn't really consider Steve Smith to be a day-to-day. I think they're probably just saying that he's going to be in the game. He went to practice, so we're kind of just considering him in. However, with Crockett Gilmore being in the game, I really think this could be a really good turning point with Steve Smith and Crockett. You also have running back Forsett and Jusic with 17 receptions and 2 touchdowns. What that means is Forsett may have been injured previously, and Jusic came in and replaced him for like a week or 2. I would assume 1 week with 17 receptions. But if that's the case, he produced 2 touchdowns in that week. So if something were to happen to Forsett, or they're ahead by so much, they might put in the secondary to finish the job. With San Diego, though, time possession, 3 whole minutes. Like I said, if you have and this is just a report, if you have a minute of time possession, you have a 22% chance of winning the game. So with 3 minutes time possession over the actual opponent, I don't know how that's going to work. That might be why they have a 3-point favorite. San Diego, they love to throw the ball. They love throwing the ball. Hey, what's going on, Eulogy? How you doing today, man? So they got wide receiver Keenan Allen, $7,700, 62 receptions, which is the most of the team. He has 3 touchdowns to his name. So it's a good thing to see, but when you pay $7,700 for a player, you want to make sure that they can produce good numbers. 62 receptions over 8 games. You're talking 8 receptions at least, or almost. So it's kind of hard to say that, with 8 receptions and 3 touchdowns, that, he'll have a great game. It's also hard to say that with Baltimore being a 3-point favorite, even though one of their players is a probable, one of their best players. Thanks for the host, Cookie Monster. I appreciate that. Danny Woodhead, 49 attempts, 2 touchdowns. Not really looking like the best option, considering Melvin Gordon is back with 85 attempts. Let's see if I have anything on Melvin Gordon. Yes, I do. Melvin Gordon, sportsworldreport.com. Melvin Gordon should be the leader of this committee. However, Woodhead leads touches. So it's hard to say who's going to be the primary running back, but given the situation that Woodhead, Gordon are kind of fighting for it. Thanks, Cookie. Um, so Danny Woodhead, Melvin Gordon are probably going to be fighting for a position, but I do believe that Melvin Gordon might have a breakthrough game. I wouldn't say breakthrough. I'm saying he might be the favorite in the running back position. So then you also have to think about Ladarius Green, how with 26 receptions, has 4 touchdowns. Now, he's 3,000, so that could be a sleeper alert. And knowing how Phillip Rivers loves to throw the ball, it could be a good consideration. Ladarius Green, 26 receptions, so over 8 games, little over three touches per game. But then again, I don't know if Ladarius Green came in, a week or two ago and started producing those numbers. I can't tell you. But with 4 touchdowns, it seems like he's the favorite in the red zone. Being how Phillip Rivers' first 15 touchdowns, it's a really good option for me. I really think he might produce some good numbers this week. Baltimore offense, they are 15 in yards, and San Diego is 18th in yards allowed, which could be an issue, but I don't see it being an issue for Baltimore. Given the time possession, don't expect Baltimore to have the ball a lot, so it might just be a lot of deep balls. They're 12th in passing, where San Diego is 9th in passing defense, sorry. So, with that being said, you got to make sure that Baltimore is on their game with Steve Smith Sr. Exactly. I'm looking at Eulogy's comment right now. Phillip Rivers throws for over 511 yards and loses a game still. I had Phillip Rivers last week, and I was so upset because I also had, who else did I have? Ladarius Green. I had Ladarius Green and Phillip Rivers. And I was completely upset. They were doing awful the first half. I was winning in DraftKings, and then when it was time for Phillip Rivers to come in, completely nothing. I had probably 3-4 points out of Phillip Rivers. So I completely agree with you, Eulogy. That's exactly what I mean. Being Baltimore's offense, 12th in pass, 9th in pass defense, it really doesn't look like they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. But they are 19th in rush over San Diego's defense, which could mean some good things. What we got? Justin Forsett. So Forsett can come in, produce some good numbers this week. Being $6,100 though, I don't like to put anything over $5,500. Anything over the minimum or the average. When you go on DraftKings and you type in and you say, okay, I want my lineup, and they say the average is $5,500, I don't like to put anything over $5,500 for my player. That's just me. So that being said, Forsett might have a great game, but given the points, Baltimore is 15th in points. San Diego is 27th in points allowed. So it's going to be a matter of... It's so hard because San Diego is in the top bracket for time possession. Baltimore down the bottom. Baltimore might do something, but if they do, it'll be quick. I think it'll be quick. So it's just hard. It's hard for me to say it because, it's a 3-point favorite, which isn't that much. San Diego, 3 minutes time possession. Baltimore might just throw the ball a lot to get it in there and get it over with. Otherwise, it could be a long game for Baltimore. San Diego, I really do think that they're gonna pull this out and win. But that's just me. That's my opinion. So with Baltimore's offense, I think you might have a good thing going with Forsett. Flacco might just kick the ball a lot, throw it out a lot. With Steve Smith Sr. being probable, they might find him open in a couple routes. But, I mean, that's pretty much all I've got for that. San Diego offense, first in yards, which is what Eulogy was trying to say. Phillip Rivers loves to throw the ball. He loves to throw the ball. He's actually 69%, which is really good. Baltimore is 25th in yards allowed. So, I really, really think that Phillip Rivers will have a breakaway game this week. Being that they're first in yards, first in passing, whereas Baltimore is 25th in yards allowed and the 25th pass defense. It really just doesn't add up that Baltimore would have a 3-point favorite over San Diego when San Diego has a 3-minute time possession average over Baltimore, and they're first in yards and passing, and Baltimore is just awful at both of those. San Diego, though, they're not so good at rushing the ball with Woodhead or Gordon, which might be the factor of Melvin Gordon being out. Woodhead kind of had to carry the team a lot, and just ended up not doing very well. So, being that they are 29th in rushing, and Baltimore's 10th in rush, I wouldn't expect Melvin Gordon to get the ball a lot. However, every week something happens, and the running back gets the ball all game long. So that's just something to consider. San Diego, 12 points. Baltimore, 26 points allowed. I just don't know why they gave him a 3-point favorite. I really don't. With Keenan Allen, with Melvin Gordon, with Ladarius Green, I really want to expect some good things out of them this week. I don't think they're going to be a team that's just going to slack off and give the points away. I feel like that would be Baltimore's job. So, in other words, I think San Diego's going to have a really good game this week. Just keep your fingers crossed. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, and let's move on. Alright, so Minnesota. Minnesota is a 2.5-point favorite over Chicago. Time possession, 12 seconds. So that's not really a whole lot to think about. You know, they both don't produce a lot of quick snaps, quick possessions. It's natural, you know, being how Forte has 2 touchdowns, 126 attempts. Adrian Peterson has 120 attempts, 3 touchdowns. It's just it's a running back style game this week. So let's get into it. Adrian Peterson. Oh man, Adrian Peterson did not practice in Wednesday or Thursday's practice, but according to NBC Sports, he participated in today's practice and will be playing Sunday. So maybe they were just letting him set out a little bit, but I do know he's had a lot of various injuries. It's kind of hard to expect him to not produce a good amount of numbers, but you can never be sure. He's had 120 attempts, 3 touchdowns. Being $7,400 though, I really don't think that's a good option. But 120 attempts. I mean, Martellus Bennett has the most attempts for any wide receiver or any receiver at all. He's got 34. So there's 4 times the attempts off of running back. I really don't see how Adrian Peterson is not going to dominate this game. But there's a reason that there's 2.5-point favorites instead of 7-point favorites. So let's get into it. Teddy Bridgewater, 65%. He's got 5 touchdowns to his name. Like I said, I don't think that this is going to be a wide receiver game. However, they might favor Kyle Rudolph or Martellus Bennett. More so in the end zone, given that Adrian Peterson doesn't just run in and do everything himself. Last week, Adrian Peterson, I don't think he had a good game. I could be wrong though. I know one week I put him in, and I mean he had a horrific game. I mean horrific, like 6 points. So Stephon Diggs, he's been getting a lot of talk lately. 19 receptions, 1 touchdown. Don't really know what to expect from this game again, being a running back style game. It's not a lot to think about, but it's a lot to think about. Do you want to expect your running back will get a lot of play? Well, then you want to pick Adrian Peterson at $7,400. Do you think that he's going to get a fair amount of attempts and wide receivers are going to get the full-fledged amount of the game? Then you kind of want to think about Martellus Bennett or Kyle Rudolph. It's so hard to think about. So I can't really put a number on it. Can't do anything like that. I'm sorry. It's just, Adrian Peterson is in. That's for certain. 120 attempts. He's going to be favored the ball a lot. Then you got wide receivers and receivers, tight ends, who have only a third or a fourth at least. I don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening. So let's get into Chicago. Matt Forte, 126 attempts, 2 touchdowns. It's hard to say that they're going to do amazing because Jay Cutler only has 7 touchdowns. That's like a factor for me. If a quarterback has 7 touchdowns, then that means that the running back must have a lot of touchdowns. Because you kind of have to think about, well, let's go up one. So, Phillip Rivers, he loves throwing the ball. Alright, he's got 15 touchdowns. And where are they at? Latavius Green, Keenan Allen. Where are they at? Danny Woodhead, 2 touchdowns as a running back. That's it. That's all you got to think about. Melvin Gordon might produce a couple touchdowns. But I'm just saying, if a quarterback only produces 7 touchdowns, there's a red flag. And it means that the running back is supposed to take the slack. So, here comes Matt Forte, $7,300, 126 attempts, which is a lot more than Adrian Peterson. But he only has 2 touchdowns to his name. That's not good. So, Alshon Jeffrey, 21 receptions, 1 touchdown. This is $400. No. I would put my eye on Eddie Royal, getting most of them. If you had to put your name on any of them, because you want somebody who gets the ball a lot more, and it's just not. I know he's only got 2 less, but he's $3,500 compared to $6,400. What more could he ask for? He's got the most receptions and tied for the most touchdowns of any receiver on the team. Like, what more do you want? So, Jeremy Langford might have a good game as a backup. That's about it. So, let's get into the notes. Minnesota offense, they're 30th in yards, which is not good, but it also means that Adrian Peterson has been getting the ball a lot more. Because, I mean, if they're throwing the ball a lot, good. That means that, they're producing yards. You're not throwing it, 5 yards. They're throwing it, 7, 10, 15, stuff like that. Chicago defense, they are 10th in yards allowed, which is good because they might have a good shot of breaking down Adrian Peterson if they can count on Teddy Bridgewater just throwing bombs and not getting anywhere. So it's just something to think about. I really do not think that Chicago can do it, considering how good Adrian Peterson is. But Peterson had an injury. He's got various injuries. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't. But I do know that Chicago is 25th in 25th in rushing allowed, whereas Minnesota is 6th in rushing. I don't want to say Adrian Peterson's going to have a great game, considering, like I said, taking yards and some passing. You know, they can definitely break up a good run play if they wanted to. You know, Chicago might have had a couple of games where nobody was running the ball, so they didn't have to run it. They didn't have to stop the run. They could just break up passes. Now they have to break up the rush, and never seen them do it. Can't say they will, but I hope they do. To kind of put to shame all the people who pick Adrian Peterson this week. But more likely that's not going to happen. Peterson might have a great game. Yeah. So Minnesota's 26 in points, which is not good, but also means that they probably favor Peterson more than anybody else on the team. Kyle Rudolph, Martellus Bennett, that's it. I mean, that's pretty much the touchdowns for wide receivers. So then you have to think about Adrian Peterson, 3 touchdowns. Again, who do you want? Chicago offense, 27th in yards, 7th in yards. So that could also add to the time possession for Minnesota. Being that they have 27 yards, they're probably not giving it to Matt Forte a lot. It's just not something that they are capable of doing. The Sims is supposed to be played on Sunday only. Mary, I'm not playing Sims. Mary, I'm playing, I'm doing my weekly fantasy. Yeah, sorry. You can't ban me on this one, by the way. So, they are 27th in yards, 7th in yards allowed. So that's just something to think about. They're not going to, they're not going to break up the, time possession that Minnesota has. They're not going to break up the time possession that some of these other teams have, which could mean that Minnesota's going to have a great game. They are 24th in passing. They're 24th in passing, 11th in passing allowed. So you're not going to expect Alshon Jeffrey, Eddie Royal, Bellamy to get the ball a lot, which is cool because you don't have to count on Jay Cutler being your sleeper pick and producing amazing numbers. I just don't see that happening. So, that being said, the rush. Chicago is 16th in rushing. Matt Forte needs to do a lot of work, considering that Minnesota is 13th in rushing allowed. Not going to happen. I'm sorry. I do not think that Matt Forte is going to produce good numbers this week. They are 28th in points, 3rd in points allowed. Again, add the time possession. It's just not going to happen. Matt Forte can't run the ball, can't drain the clock. Jay Cutler can't pass it. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. So, that being said, I expect Minnesota to have a great game. They're probably going to have a lot of time possession on their hands. But that's just me. Alright, give me 1 second, guys. I need to take a drink. Alright. Back to what Eulogy wants to see. So, Arizona. 4.5 point favorite over Cleveland. Cleveland has a 55-second time possession over Arizona, which, good or bad, you know, take it or leave it. Considering how good Arizona is, I don't think it's going to matter. Larry Fitzgerald, 46 receptions, 6 touchdowns. I picked him last week. I'm a little biased. He didn't do as well as I wanted him to. In fact, he didn't do very well at all. But we'll get into the whole BS on the notes. Carson Palmer, 145, 222, 65%. He's got 16 touchdowns to his name, which is phenomenal. Can't ask any more of your quarterback. Which is also what I was trying to say about last time. Running back Chris Johnson, 3 touchdowns to his name. So, how can a quarterback only have 7 touchdowns and the running back only have 2? It goes into account of time possession, how well the offense is, how well the defense is stopping them. That's just something to think about. So, John Brown, 37 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Let's check the notes. John Brown, wide receiver, according to SportingNews.com. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. John Brown, wide receiver, in accordance to RotoWorld.com, has not ruled himself out for Week 8, however, is in serious danger, and reports on Sporting News. It's hard to declare somebody out when you still got 2 more days to go, but if they're in serious danger of not playing, you don't want to pick them, because you don't think they're going to be running around a lot, or doing whatever. What does he have? Oh, well, I didn't even write down what his injury is. But you can imagine that, if it's anything like a knee injury or a rib injury, if he gets hit one time, he's going to be slowed down. So, a determined is not a good sign for a wide receiver to have. Running back Chris Johnson, $4,600. He has 111 attempts, 3 touchdowns, which is really good, considering him and David Johnson, who are $3,500, are battling for the most touchdowns in the team. It's a good sign because you want your running back to have a lot of touches, and you want them to be under that $5,500 range. Anytime you get under that $5,500 range, you're kind of peeking into a sleeper pick. Now, it might be something that 15% of people picked, or 10%, but you want to have it to where you're paying a small amount of money for somebody who's producing a lot of points. I believe that Chris Johnson will have a great game this week. So, Cardinals defense, 4,000. That is self-explanatory why they're $4,000. The most of any defense on DraftKings. Let's take the Cleveland. How do I list my channel under the Gaming Talk Show section? I don't know. I mean, is it? I don't know. I'm sorry. So, Travis Benjamin, $5,300, 35 receptions, 4 touchdowns. He's under the $5,500 range, but you also have to factor in how good Arizona's defense is. Okay. Josh McCown, $5,000, 147 attempts, 147 completions of 220 attempts. Didn't write down a percentage, which would have been nice, but it looks like he's in that 62% range. He's going to be doing really good. He's been doing pretty well, considering him and Manziel have been going back and forth. They don't know who to pick. They don't know who. But I do believe that Josh McCown is going to start this week. And, given the whole Manziel, the whole domestic abuse in the car, where they let him go, all of that. I do believe that McCown is going to have a start this week. Tight end Gary Barnidge, $4,700, 33 receptions, 5 touchdowns. So that's really good. That goes into the whole $5,300, $4,700, price range. You don't want to pick somebody who is $6,000, $6,500 and not producing numbers. You want to have somebody who is $5,300, $5,500, on down to about $3,000. If you go anything below that, you're really picking a sleeper pick, and I hope you the best. Good luck. So he's producing the same numbers that Benjamin is producing. Just want to make sure that they are getting it to him, and not Benjamin because they like him more or something like that. Also, you have to figure in Josh McCown has not played every game this season, so you don't know how many receptions Benjamin has or Barnridge has with each quarterback. You just don't know. I don't even know if they can tell you that. If you can, please look it up if you plan on buying either one of them. But I do believe that they have a versatile offense, nonetheless. Wide receivers, can't go wrong with either one of them. Just make sure that one is not favored more than the other in this manner. Isaiah Crowell, he's not really had a good game, good season. He's at 81 attempts. He's got 1 touchdown. I really don't think that Crowell is going to have a great game. Aside from the fact that Arizona is just a freaking beast at stopping the offense, I really don't think that Crowell is going to do it. Then we go down to Andrew Hawkins, 3,000. He is out for the week. Andrew Hawkins, according on Fox Sports, Hawkins is likely out. Dwayne Bowe is expected to replace him. Dwayne Bowe, no receptions, no touchdowns. He's only had 2 reception attempts and dropped both of them. Being $3,000, not knowing who he is, I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. I wish I did. I was going to say he's amazing. In practice, he, caught 50 passes. I can't say it. I don't know. They don't talk about him. Browns defense, $2,000. As you can see, Browns defense and Cardinals defense, a little bit different. But, money isn't everything. You got to think about what team you're playing this week. But let's get into that. Arizona offense, 14 yards. Cleveland defense, 28 yards allowed. Oh, wait. It doesn't look very good for Cleveland. Cleveland is just not a solid defense yet. They're good at stopping when they need to, like they did at Cleveland, or Denver. They did it to Denver and they went into overtime. However, not this week. They're not playing against Peyton Manning. They're playing against Carson Palmer. It doesn't look like that. It's not going to be that kind of Cinderella story again. I'm highly certain of it. They're 6th in pass, 16th in passing. But 4.5? Come on, what? There ain't no... Oh, no. 4.5 point favorite. I believe Arizona's going to come out. So they're 6th in pass, 16th in pass allowed. Larry Fitzgerald. I wish him the best. I'm not going to pick him this week. I'm tired of picking him. He doesn't produce the numbers compared to how much he's worth. I really don't. I hope he produces 40 points, but for me, I'm not doing it. I'm not. I can't. John Brown, hope he can do something. I don't know. Man. I want to pick him. I want to be dumb enough to do it again and reckless. But, I entered these drafts so I can get something good. And I just haven't seen that with Larry Fitzgerald in the past 2 weeks. I really haven't. So, Arizona is 10th in rush, whereas Cleveland is 32nd in rush. I mean, what more can you ask for? You got Chris Johnson right here. He's got 111 attempts, which is more, or, I'm sorry, not more. Not more. Alright. They are not more than Adrian Peterson. However, they are 9 more than an offense that favors Adrian Peterson more than any player on the team. And I'm not talking about, touches. I'm talking about, in general, they favor Adrian Peterson. Like, if they could give it to him, they would give it to him. He has 5 touchdowns. Teddy Bridgewater has 5 touchdowns this season. He's obviously not passing. Who's he passing it to? Except for, the stands or the sideline. Come on. So, it's just something to think about. Chris Johnson, I have high hopes for this guy this week. Can't go wrong with him. David Johnson, I don't see him doing it very well. I mean, he's going to be a backup. If Chris Johnson gets injured, I hope he doesn't. I got my bet on Chris. I think that Chris Johnson's going to have a really good game this week. So let's get into it. Second in points, 23rd in points. So here we go. Here's another thing. Now you have to think about how many touchdowns these players have. And okay, let's not do that again. So the wide receivers and the running backs all have at least 2 in this list. It doesn't mean that your player is going to get the touchdown every single time. In fact, it means that you're probably not going to get the touchdown. Being that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players who do not, or 5 players, no, 6, who have more than 2. You got to pick the guy who gives you the most points. So that's kind of hard to say. Given that they're 6th in pass, 16th in pass allowed, 10th in rush, 32nd in rush allowed, 2nd in points, 23rd in points allowed. So you almost have to make that choice. What player do I want to produce those points for me? And you just have to take a risk. You got to take a risk and you have to go for it. I don't know how you're going to do it. I wish you the best of luck. Given how Carson Palmer's thrown 16 touchdowns, 65%, he's thrown it 222 times, whereas Bridgewater's only thrown it 181. I don't know. Who does he favor this week? I can't tell you. Cleveland offense. Red all the way around the line. 12 yards. Arizona is 4th in yards allowed. Yep. Cleveland is 8th in passing. Arizona is 7th in passing allowed. Yep. Cleveland is 28th in rush. Arizona is 7th in rushing allowed. Yep. Cleveland is 25th in points. Arizona is 8th in points allowed. Yep. So, if I were you, I'd pick the defense. If I were you. There's a couple of teams that I looked at this week, and I thought, I really like that defense. They are going to do well. But, given how they've got all of these teams, or all of these players, producing that many numbers, these players, one guy's out, they have a new guy coming in who's never touched the ball but twice, didn't even catch him, a running back who can't run the ball, another running back who can't run the ball. Travis Benjamin, sorry buddy, Arizona has played some solid teams this year. Like, I don't even know the ranking of how their strength of schedule is, but I do think that they are 100%. Like, they are 100% the best position. Like, they're in the best position this week. What more can I say? Sure, they have a 55-second time possession over them. They played Peyton Manning last week. They've whooped. Now, it doesn't account for the whole season with Peyton Manning, but I'm saying, I know that Cleveland has played horrible teams this year. I know that Arizona has played some great teams this year. Cleveland had to play a tough Denver defense. So, that's also in the factor. But, I disagree with this whole thing. I believe that Arizona is going to come out victorious by a lot. And I'm not just saying it because it's Arizona. I'm saying it because it's Cleveland. And that's all I got to say about that. Alright, let's look at the next one. So we got Houston and Tennessee. Houston, 4.5 point favorite. Over Tennessee's time possession, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Both of these, I don't feel comfortable with. Give me 1 second. Alright. So, the reason I don't feel comfortable with this, 4.5 point favorite. Do you think that Houston is going to throw the ball, like, immediately? Like, get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out? I don't. And the reason that I say that is because of the pass defense. I don't think that that's going to happen. Alright, Mary. I don't see it. I don't see it because Tennessee has had to have played some great teams in order to get second pass in the league. I mean, they played Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, maybe at that time Tampa Bay wasn't that good, but I know right now, Tampa Bay is amazing. And I do think that Tennessee is just, like, going to stop them in most situations. So you got DeAndre Hopkins, 58 receptions, 5 touchdowns. Phenomenal. Can't ask for any more of a wide receiver. You got Brian Hoyer, which I wish he was still with Cleveland. I really do. But he's had to move on and do better things. He's got 106 of 180, which is 59%. 11 touchdowns. That's really good, considering, well, I was going to say it was really good. Now I really don't know. So he's at 60% passing completion, which is about the average. He's got 11 touchdowns in his name, which is good. The only thing I'm concerned about is why is there not a good running back? And with Alfred Blue, Chris Polk, it kind of narrows it down to why do I want to bet money on this? Because you have a quarterback who can throw the ball efficiently. Now I have to pick a wide receiver who I know will get the ball more. You got Nate Washington, 22 receptions, but he has 2 touchdowns. So how do you know that he doesn't get in the end zone more than DeAndre Hopkins? How do you know that, DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get the ball on like a 20-yard pass and just break through and score a touchdown? It's just something that you have to think about. Do you want a team that is going to throw touchdowns, but do you want that team to have one player that you know is going to get it? And I don't feel confident in betting on that. I wouldn't put money on that. Because you got 5 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, you got 1 touchdown, and you got 2 touchdowns, and 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 6 players who are capable of catching a touchdown this season. How are you gonna bet? I mean, I don't know, man. So, with that being said, the running backs aren't as efficient as I'd like them to be. It would be easy if I could say, yeah, they'll get the ball, but they won't score touchdowns. Why do I want them? I don't care how many times they get the ball. And 68 times is not even that good. That's not good at all. 40 times is even worse, I can understand him being a backup. Getting 40, because this one only got 21, 24. So, but that could also mean that one guy got injured, backup came in, took all the snaps. But it's hard for me to say 100% that running back is going to get it when they're obviously not getting it. So for Tennessee, Mariota, 101, 163, 64%, 9 touchdowns. He is out for this week. Alright, Mariota. I don't even know if I have him on here anymore. I think I just took him out. Yep. According to NFL.com, Mariota's out, Mettenberger is in. Thanks. Alright. So, with that being said, Zach Mettenberger, $5,100. He's thrown 27 of 43. 62%. Can't be mad at a guy who's thrown that on his one week. Can't be mad. However, you want to see him get more, and he's not. So, with Kendall Wright, 24 receptions, the most touchdowns of any receiver, $5,100. Then again, he's not throwing it, so I don't know what you want. Tight end Delaney Walker, 4,100, got the most receptions, 1 touchdown to his name. Running back Antonio Andrews, he's 3,300. He has 38 attempts, and he has 2 touchdowns. So, is this the guy who is going to do it for Tennessee? You know, is he going to run the clock down with the time possession? Is Bishop Sankey, $3,300, 39 attempts, 1 touchdown, going to do it? Again, you have to figure out what player played phenomenal last week, because that more than likely is going to be the player who is going to do it the week after. So, here's a good thing that I like to see. I don't like to see anybody get injured, but this is something that I found out. Harry Douglas is out this week. Okay. According to Heavy.com, it says, Harry Douglas is out. Report says to pick up Dorial Green. How they said it? If you haven't yet, pick up Dorial Green now, please. Because this guy has 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and he is replacing someone on the wide receiver list. Now, like I said, who's going to be getting the ball more? Is it going to be the running back? Is it going to be wide receiver? Who? So, my guess is either Antonio Andrews or Sankey are going to get the ball more. Okay? That's just me. However, I do believe that Dorial Green might have a good shot at getting into the end zone more, given his 2 touchdowns off of 6 receptions. You don't just give the ball to someone and they just say, oh, okay, cool, and they run 85 yards. They get the ball when they're close to the end zone, because that's just something that they're more familiar with. Quarterbacks want to throw to new receivers in situations where they are comfortable. And that, to me, is a comfortable situation where, you know, the defense doesn't know what to do, and they scramble, and then the offense is just following a route, and there you go. So, it's just more likely that Dorial Green might get more receptions in the touchdown area than any of the other receivers, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. Tight end Delaney Walker, good for him. He's only got 1 touchdown. Kendall Wright, good for him. 3 touchdowns, 24 receptions. He might have something to do with this, but for $3,100, it's almost a steal to not take him. So let's get into the notes. Houston, 7th in yards. Tennessee, 5th in yards allowed. All right. Houston, 4th in pass, 2nd in pass. That's what I was saying. How is DeAndre Hopkins going to get the ball when they're cracking down on this offense? like that. Nate Washington, cracking down on him. Alfred Blue, or not Alfred Blue, Alfred Blue, not cracking down on him. Cecil Shorts is going to be out, so you're going to have somebody new come in. Probably Jalen Strong. CJ Fedorowicz. He's got 1 touchdown off of 7 receptions. I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, he's got 1 less touchdown than Dorial Green. And I don't know how Fedorowicz is going to start. So somehow he got the ball. Somehow he's a favorite. Because they might have so many receivers that they can just, like, do a screen, split out, and here he is, open, and he just gets the ball. He gets the ball and he runs. So that's something to consider. Houston is 27th in rush. Tennessee is 29th in rush allowed. Being that Alfred Blue only has 1 touchdown, I wouldn't bet on him. I really wouldn't. Given how Tennessee has 2 minutes and 45 seconds of possession average over Houston, I wouldn't bet on him. I fell into that trap last week where I was talking about how I picked Latavius Murray, or Latavius Bryant. Give me 1 second, I got this. Martavis Bryant. I picked him last week because Landry Jones favored him. And the, Landry Jones favored him in the, where am I at? There we go. Favored him in the passing game. I mean, you know, Landry Jones came on the field, nobody knew who he was, and he found a spot with Martavis Bryant. He just kept throwing to him. Then the next week, I picked him, and he threw it to Brown. So, you know, it's not. Where am I at? Wrong way. There. So, what also was a factor was that the Steelers had a horrible time possession against, who was it? I can't remember who the Steelers played. However, they had a horrible time possession against the Steelers, or against the opponent. That being said, Martavis Bryant didn't get past the ball a lot because he got past to Antonio Brown, and the opponent had the ball more than the Steelers because time possession. So you want to have a team that you are reliable on, and getting the ball more, doing more with it, and picking a player who can do more with it. And I don't see it with this. You got 5-2, 1. He's out 2 and 1. Why? You know, like sure they'll produce more points, but they won't do what you want them to do. You can't just snap your finger and say, "All right, pass it to him." No, it's if the guy's open, he's gonna get the ball. So even though they're 20th in points, 16th in points allowed, they're still a 4.5 favorite. I don't see it. I don't know why they would be. I really don't. You know, I guess it might be because of the defense that they have, but even that, they're not that good of a defense. It doesn't match. So I wouldn't agree with this. I would agree with this. Tennessee's going to have the ball more. Their quarterback is out now. Wide receivers spread out. They know what they're doing. Again, you don't want to bet on one player getting the ball more because it's just not going to work out in your favor. Zach Mettenberger might not even get the ball into the pocket of anybody. Brian Hoyer will have an exceptional game, but he won't have one person that he favors, I bet. So let's just go to the next one, because I mean I've pretty much already gone over everything on this one. All right, so the Saints, they are 3-point lead. They're a 3-point favorite. and they have a 4-minute and 3-second time of possession. Are you kidding me? You know? That's insane that they average 4 minutes more. So, now we have to think about it. Here's the question. Who will get the ball more if they have a time possession of 4.03 minutes? I would say Mark Ingram. I believe Mark Ingram is going to be an exceptional addition to this week. Drew Brees, $6,700, 171 to 253, 67%. He's got 8 touchdowns, which is really good, considering Mark Ingram has 5 touchdowns off of 102 attempts. Like, that is insane. 253, 102 attempts. That is, what, 355 attempts just by that. Just by those two. You're not even factoring in the 3 receivers who have almost 30 receptions. So, I really believe that Mark Ingram is going to have an exceptional game this week. I'm picking him. Feel like anybody would be crazy not to. Kyrie Robinson, 3,052 attempts, 4 touchdowns. He might be in there when the Saints. Yeah, Brees is a good pocket passer. But I mean, I'm going off of what I see on this. I'm going off of what I see on the paper. He's third in passing compared to the 30th in pass. Yeah. You know what? You're right. And I needed that. I needed somebody to tell me that I was wrong in that. I've been staring at the screen now for at least 23 hours, and I don't know what's right and what's wrong right now. So, Drew Brees, 171, 253, 67%. That is an amazing rate. 8 touchdowns, even better considering Mark Ingram has 5 touchdowns. So, Brandon Cooks, 35 receptions, 1 touchdown. I actually picked him in my lineup this week. Willis Snead, he's got 29 receptions, 1 touchdown. He would be a good second addition. Then you got Benjamin Watson, 29 receptions, 2 touchdowns. More than likely, Watson is favored in the end zone. But you never know. It's hard to explain unless you've seen it. So, then you have Kyrie Robinson has 52 attempts. He's got 4 touchdowns to his name. So, that right there is amazing. I don't know how. It could just be where the Saints were ahead by so much, so they let Kyrie have it, and Kyrie just took it and ran. Then you got, I think if I had to say an impressive moment, I would say that Humana Wanui and Josh Hill. I mean, is going to go to Snead the most. See, and that's something that I also need to know. I need to know who they're going to be favoring. Because I'm looking at stats. I'm not looking at last week's thing. I'm looking at basically who gets past the ball the most, who gets the most touchdowns. I promise you guys next week I'm going to have it all down pat. Like I said, I spent probably 30 hours on this. And I just, I had like a half an hour to go before I got all of my injury reports down. I was just running ragged. It was hard. It was hard for me to do it alone. But Eulogy, thank you, man. Eulogy is saying that Willis Snead is going to get the ball the most. For $4,500, can't really beat it. So, I guess, you can't say that they're not going to get the ball the most because, hang on, give me 1 second. Okay. Um, you can't say they're not going to get the ball most because they both have one touchdown. Brandon Cooks and Willis Snead, one touchdown in their name. One touchdown, one touchdown, one touchdown. So, it's not a matter of, oh, well, he favorites him because he throws him the ball. He has 67% completion. If he wanted to throw a touchdown to somebody, he would do it. So, Brandon Cooks is looking like, according to Eulogy, he's looking like a second option. Willis Snead is looking like the favorite this week. And now we are thinking about, I was trying to say an impressive moment on Humana Wanui for getting one touchdown off of 7 receptions, and Josh Hill, 7 receptions, 1 touchdown. I mean, it's just amazing that 2 people who have, and Brandon Coleman, they have 10 or less receptions, and they have a touchdown in their name. That's insane. And that's just how good Drew Brees is. Yep, Brandon Coleman, like I said, yeah. Brandon Coleman, according to Eulogy, says that he'll see the rock coming at him too. And, I mean, that's just something that, you it's hard for fantasy sports because you kind of have to know all aspects. And for me, I watch because I pick the teams, and I watch them play, and I'm happy because my players are getting the ball more. But there are times where you're throwing the ball to, like, someone else, and I'm like, stop, throw it to someone else, throw it to my guy. And it doesn't happen. So, I'm going to do some more research next week. I'm going to figure out who, last week got the ball more, things like that. I'll check out the highlight, recap, stuff like that, and I'll get back to it. I'm a little off track, I'll be honest with you, but this is my first episode, so I'm trying. Let's get into the Jets. Odell Beckham Jr., $8,500, got 42 receptions for 4 touchdowns. That is, let's see. That is 14 more receptions than any other receiver on the team, and he has 3 more touchdowns than any player on the team. It seems like an honorable favorite. However, Saints 3 under, time possession 4 minutes 3 seconds. Giants aren't probably going to see the ball a lot this week. I don't think it's going to happen. Given that the Giants could, given that the Giants are basically, I don't think they're efficient that much. They have a wide variety of receivers and running backs, but I don't think that they're going to be efficient against a 3 under Saints, 403 time possession offense and defense. Eli Manning, 168, 259. So, given that, 65%, 11 touchdowns, that's really good. I wish I could have seen a lot more out of the running backs. However, 3 touchdowns off of 3 running backs is not a bad thing. It could have meant that one of the running backs was injured, somebody else picked up, like I said before. 42 receptions, 12 more than any other receiver. Rashad Jennings, 71 attempts, 1 touchdown. Orleans Darkwa, 8 attempts, 1 touchdown. Andre Williams, 49 attempts, 1 touchdown. It doesn't seem like a favorable rushing offense to me. So with that, if anybody can step in and say, hey, I believe the Giants are going to pick up and throw it to this guy more, speak up now, because I really think that they're going to throw it to Odell Beckham. They could throw it to Larry Donald a lot more. It's hard for me to say that they are. Once again, didn't look at the recaps, didn't check the highlights. No information going off of that whatsoever. Give me 1 second, I just realized that it's really dark in here. I need to turn the light on. Okay. There we go. Alright. So, you think it'll be a running game with the Giants? Oh. Well, let's get into that. New Orleans offense, 6 in yards, 29th in yards. 6 in yards, 29th in yards. So, you have to think Drew Brees is going to be throwing the ball a lot. He's going to be passing it a lot. It's going to be a passing attempt all over. Usually you were right. I didn't look at the stats before I said that. Seeing that kind of just throws a big wrench in the, yeah. So, look out for, Willis Snead, Usually says. Could be something good there. They're third in passing. Giants are 30th in passing allowed, which could also add to their time of possession, 4 minutes and 3 seconds. All in all, it looks like the Saints are just going to pull out and dominate. He lets him toss it. Okay. Alright, Eulogy. I'll take your word on that. I will. Because I have no information to go off of. You're right in my respect. So, Giants offense, 23rd in yards. New Orleans, 30th in yards allowed. Again, that's not a lot to go off of. It's hard to say that you're going to throw and get yards. You're just saying you're going to run it. They are 14th in pass, whereas New Orleans is 26th in passing. Allowed. Again, that's not a good stat to have, that you're 14th in the league. 25th in rushing. They're 28th in rushing allowed. Again, and Eulogy is saying that Darkwa is going to play a lot this week. He's saying that he got a lot of plays last week. So keep that in mind. Now, the rushing is not good, but New Orleans defense is not good either. And again, I mean, when you're looking at time of possession, in the Saints, Drew Brees can either throw it efficiently or he can just run it. I don't know how he can get 4 minutes and 3 seconds more average time of possession than the Giants. I mean, is every team that the Giants played, are they throwing the ball quick? Are they, quickly getting a time possession over? Because the Giants' defense is not that good at producing, stops. So they had to have ran that clock down. Now, did they get a good offense or did they defend a good running defense or running offense who just ran the ball a lot? Or did they, it's so hard to explain, because you kind of have to watch every game and understand it. Yeah, Eulogy, that's what I'm saying. I think that the 403 is going to be pretty close as well. So, I believe that the 403 is going to be actual. That I feel like Drew Brees will either milk the throw and just throw it, or Mark Ingram is just going to get the ball and just run that clock completely out. I mean, because you got two main weapons on that team. It's going to be insane to watch that. So I think that the Saints are going to win. I feel like they're going to win by a lot, given that they have two main weapons compared to the Giants. I mean, they're not going to get the ball that much. They have to make a play quick. I don't see them doing it. They didn't do it against the Eagles. No. I just don't see it. Alright, next one. Now we have St. Louis and San Francisco. Here we go again. St. Louis, 7.5 favorite over San Francisco's 55-second time possession. Again, that doesn't matter in this case. Todd Gurley, 74 attempts, 2 touchdowns against a, okay, that's cool. Thanks for falling again. Let me get this right. Yeah, you were just saying that 7.5 favorite looks about right, and I could not agree more. So, Todd Gurley, 74 attempts, 2 touchdowns over a 21st rushing defense allowed. I mean, he's either Nick Foles, 96, 164, 58%. He's not that efficient at throwing the ball, but he's either going to throw the ball a lot or he's going to let Todd Gurley have it. In my opinion, he's going to let Todd Gurley have it. I think he's going to let Todd Gurley have it. Todd Gurley's had a great season so far. He's not going to have a great game, I believe. But you never know. So you got Tavon Austin, Kenny Britt, Stephen Bailey, Lance Kendrick. They all have 1 touchdown in their name. That could be a big problem for the San Francisco defense. They are 31st in passing, which is hard, because who do you want to pick? Do you want to pick Nick Foles and all of his receivers getting the ball? Or do you want to pick the Todd Gurley running the ball and getting it? So, San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick, 124 and 202, 61%. He's got 6 touchdowns to his name. Against the 17th pass defense. 31st in passing. That is San Francisco right there. 32nd in yards. So with Carlos Hyde being determined, really don't expect a whole lot out of this team. I really believe that St. Louis is going to run them for their money. They are going to dominate. You got Anquan Bolden, 31 receptions, 2 touchdowns, $4,400. That's not bad. But given how inefficient they are at everything in the league, like everything, like 32nd in yards, 31st in passing, 32nd in points, that's really all you need to care about when you have a wide receiver. So what are you going to get out of them? I don't think you're going to get anything out of them. So it'll be Carlos Hyde's turn to kind of come in and do everything. And it's not going to happen because he's determined. He's going to be sore. He's going to be weak. You know, who's going to replace him? I don't know. I didn't put it. So, you know, I don't know, man. It's going to be a St. Louis show. The Jets and the Oakland Raiders. Now, I am very, very happy about my Jets this year. I wouldn't say my Jets. I say it because I picked their defense this week. I'm thinking about picking the St. Louis now that I think about it. But Jets, Brandon Marshall, 41 receptions, 4 touchdowns, $7,600. Given that Chris Ivory's getting 100 attempts at 4 touchdowns, really don't see how both of those are going to have a breakthrough game. They are 2.5 point favorites, and they have a time possession of 219. Oakland has played some pretty good games against opponents. The Jets, they have 2. I'm not gonna lie. So you were just saying that I think I would go with Oakland on that game. And Eulogy also said Todd Bowles is just setting in. So, given that situation, you know, if there's new players coming in and, you know, all this stuff, and, that I don't know. I don't know. Let's go into the notes. So, the Jets are 8th in yards, and the Oakland is 26th in yards allowed. Jets are 16th in passing. Oakland is 32nd in passing. Jets are 3rd in rushing. Oakland is 3rd in rushing allowed. Jets are 7th in points. Oakland is 21st in points allowed. So given that, I kind of want to stand beside the Jets, because when dealing with the Oakland offense, they are not efficient at any of these compared to the Jets defense. That being said, with the Jets, is this at Oakland? This is at Oakland. I believe it's at Oakland. Yes. I believe it is. But given the Jets defense and how good they are and efficient they are at producing, all of these stops on all of it. All of it. Against an Oakland defense Oakland offense who is 18th in yards allowed, 11th in passing allowed, 23rd in rushing allowed, 10th in points, which is not bad. You can't be mad at him. Derek Carr, he's having a pretty good season. You got Amari Cooper, you got Latavius Murray, you got Michael Crabtree. It's in Cali. Okay, so it is in Oakland. I want to keep going with the Jets. I do. I really do. And I'm sticking with it. I can't not pick them. There's a lot of weapons on this team. Even though one is questionable. Oh, come on. What are you doing? Alright. Given that, Khalil Mack is on the D too. I have to go with the Jets. I really do. Because they're still on top. Like, they haven't lost games with, bad opponents. Jets have won. They know how to win, and it shows right here. So with me, it will be a mix-up of, is Fitzpatrick going to pass it, or is Marshall going to catch it? Is Ivory going to catch it? Is Curley going to catch it? Is Stacy going to jump in at the end and produce more points than Ivory? I don't believe that, but it's something that you just have to consider. So Seattle at Dallas. Now, this is going to be a weird game, because now you are faced with Seattle's offense, who the offensive line on the Seattle Seahawks were awful 2 weeks ago. Russell Wilson still gets sacked the most of any player in the league. I believe. I believe that's true. But it just goes to show you that the O-line is horrific. Give me 1 second. So, the O-line is really bad. But that doesn't mean that a running back can't run it, or that Russell Wilson cannot get the pass off in time. In fact, if a team is more likely to blitz you because A, you have a good running back, or B, your O-line is awful, well, there you go. Scramble, throw. Scramble, run. it doesn't really make up for these players that don't get the ball enough. Because once you throw the ball to them, the D-line is going to be like, oh, wow, well, we need to stop that. So they go and play, zone in the backfield. Oh, okay, well, let's run it. So just because the quarterback gets sacked doesn't mean that the O-line is not capable of understanding and getting into an area of comfort to know what to do next. It just means that they're physically not apt enough to handle a defense. Now, Dallas defense, they are 8th in yards allowed, 13th in pass allowed, 9th in rush allowed, 24th in points allowed. So, if you're looking at that, you gotta think about, well, Seattle might just throw the ball. They might run it. But Dallas is so electrifying, is the word, I guess, that you're not going to have efficiency if you are under pressure and sacked all the time. So, if you're sacked, well, there you go. There went your momentum, because Dallas is Dallas. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not like Dallas sacked somebody and then, the whole crowd goes quiet after a half a minute. Like, the whole crowd goes wild. And, I don't know if they're home or away. I should have wrote that down. But, Seattle, it's just going to be weird. It's going to be weird. It's going to be really weird. It's going to be like a dogfight, in my opinion. Because, Seattle is 14th in yards allowed, or 14th and 3rd in yards allowed, 3rd in passing allowed, 6th in rush, 5th in points. I don't know. This is why the NFL is so good at what they're doing when they make these matchups, because, you don't know who's going to go out and succeed in this game. But, in my opinion, I believe Seattle has the upper hand. Seattle has a 6-point favorite, 3:03 time possession. They have Marshawn Lynch, they have Jimmy Graham, they have Doug Baldwin. Rawls is limited, so he won't be in there, more than likely. Actually, let me see. Rawls. Thomas Rawls had missed practice Thursday with a calf injury, according to MyNorthwest.com. So, you can miss a Thursday practice, but, and you can be perfectly normal on Sunday. He had a limited practice, so you gotta kind of be easy on him. But I don't know, because Dallas is just Dallas. I don't think the ranking defines how good their defense is. Now, are they going to produce a lot of points? No, I don't think so. I really don't. Dez Bryant's questionable. Dez Bryant, according to Dallas News, is questionable, though said, if the decision was up to him, hell yeah, I'm playing. What does that mean? It means he's from Texas, and he loves to play football. Bryce Butler, questionable. Bryce Butler, according to thescore.com, is questionable. Hamstring after a limited practice Wednesday. Again, that doesn't tell me that he's not going to be able to play on Sunday. It just means he didn't play Wednesday. So, who do I think is going to win? Seattle. If they're at home, Seattle. If they're away, Seattle. If they're away, I believe that Seattle would win by a field goal. This is just that much of a dogfight. I do not think that these teams are just going to go out there and destroy everything. You know, neither one. So, that's my input on that. Alright, Green Bay at Denver. Green Bay. This is also going to be a dogfight. So, Green Bay, 3 under, 3 favorite. Time possession, 13 seconds. That's not that big a deal. Quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, $7,500. 124 of 182. He's at 68%, 15 touchdowns. That is why he's the second best quarterback in the league, beside Tom Brady. You got Randall Cobb, 7,000. He's got 60 receptions, I wish, 30 receptions for 4 touchdowns. Then you got James Jones, 21 receptions, 6 touchdowns. So, James starts, 63 attempts. Eddie Lacy, 67 attempts, 1 touchdown. Let's check the injury report. Davante Adams. And Ty Montgomery. They're both in the same thing, alright? According to Yahoo Sports, Ty Montgomery misses Thursday practice and is questionable, as well as wide receiver Davante Adams, who plans to return to the field Saturday. Okay. Well, Ty Montgomery has 2 touchdowns off of 15 receptions. So, he's on track to becoming one of the lineup receivers. Richard Rodgers, 21 receptions, which is more than Ty Montgomery, and he has 2 touchdowns. This is probably something that you wouldn't have noticed in the DraftKings lineups, but I went ahead and I picked out every option that Green Bay has. It just goes to show you that you can bet on Aaron Rodgers this week, getting the job done. You got Randall Cobb, James Jones, you got Richard Rodgers, Ty Montgomery, even though he's probably not going to play, who knows. It's just, it's hard to say you're going to do it 100%, because look at this. Green Bay offense, 11th in yards. Denver, 1st in yards allowed. There you go. 22nd in pass. 1st in pass allowed. There you go. 8th in rush. 4th in rush allowed. 5th in points. 2nd in points allowed. Alright, so then, you gotta think, well, what about Denver? Denver, 29th in yards. 14th in yards allowed. They are 18th in passing, and they are 12th in passing allowed. 30th in rush, 22nd in rush allowed. 14th in points, 1st in points allowed. So, in all honesty, both teams are going to stop each other. And both teams are going to try and do offense any way they know how. I don't know how they're going to do it. You know, I can almost guarantee that Green Bay is going to pass, and Denver is going to pass as well. But, here it is. Ronnie Hillman, 66 attempts, most of any running back. 2 touchdowns, most of any running back. Do I believe that he's just going to throw it, and throw it, and throw it, and throw it? Not really, because Peyton Manning isn't really that good at throwing this season. He's already got an injury on his list. You know, on his shoulder, isn't it? And, I mean, it doesn't look good on paper, you know, but who knows what this week's going to bring. I do believe that Peyton Manning is just going to hand off to Ronnie Hillman. So, that's just my input. Alright, next, Carolina at Indiana. Alright, time possession, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. They are a 5.5 point under, or favorite. I'm so used to golf, I'm sorry guys. Quarterback Cam Newton, 6,800, 101 of 181, 55%. Not good. 9 touchdowns, which is okay. It's really good. Because I know that Cam Newton runs on a lot. He loves to run the ball. You got tight end Greg Olsen, 6,500, 27 receptions, 3 touchdowns. When I look at that, I also look at Ted Ginn Jr. and I look at no, just those two. I have my eyes on those two. Because last week it was Greg Olsen. It was the Greg Olsen show and the Jonathan Stewart show. And Ted Ginn would get in. He would get in fairly decent amount of reps. But then you also have to think, well, Cam Newton runs. So what are you going to do? You're going to pick the quarterback who runs and can throw, 55%. Or are you going to pick the running back who gets the ball a lot more, produces the most touchdowns of any running back, even though quarterback can run in as well? So, Indiana, quarterback Andrew Luck, $7,400, 118 of 210. He is also at 56%. 11 touchdowns, which is really good considering Frank Gore has 3 touchdowns. It just means to kick the ball off a lot more, I believe. So, wide receiver T.Y. Hilton, $6,900, 37 receptions, which is the most of any wide receiver. He has 3 touchdowns. Dante Moncrief, $5,500, 34 receptions, only 3 under what T.Y. Hilton has, and he has 5 touchdowns to his name, 2 more than T.Y. Hilton. And then you got Frank Gore, $4,800, 3 touchdowns. You know, leave it to Frank Gore to handle his business. So, now for the notes. Carolina is 22nd in yards. Indiana is 32nd in yards allowed. 29th in passing. 29th in passing allowed. 1st in rush. 23rd in rush allowed. 6th in points. 20th in points allowed. So, here we go again. Carolina. They love to run the ball. Do you think that Carolina is going to run the ball more with Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart? Or are they going to pass it more with Greg Olsen, Ted Ginn Jr., Cotchery, Tolbert, Corey Brown? Given how bad the Indiana defense is, I would suggest Cam Newton getting the ball, acting like he's going to throw it, and just running. That's just me. He's got a 55% passer rating. He's obviously not, throwing bullets, dimes, whatever you want to call it, into his receiver's hands. He does have 2 receivers who have 3 touchdowns, but let's be real. I don't see how Cam Newton is just going to dominate a passing game this week. I feel like he's going to get the ball, he's going to step back, he's going to realize that there's no one open, and he's just going to run. Alright, Indiana offense. 17th in yards, Carolina's 9th in yards allowed. 26th in rush, 8th in rush allowed. 23rd in points. 17th in yards, 9th in yards allowed. 10th in pass, 8th in pass allowed. 26th in rush, 17th in rush allowed. 23rd in points, 6th in points allowed. So, pretty much, Carolina has them on lockdown. Doesn't look like they're going to be scoring a lot of points. Doesn't look like they're going to be giving a lot of yards. They might get something with the pass. But once you get to that point where they get in a rhythm and they figure out what the passing offense looks like, the defense is probably going to figure out what to do and do it. So, my bet is they're right for putting Carolina at a 5.5 under, or 5.5 favorite over Indiana. So, there we go. Alright, now for your turn. If you guys have any opinions or suggestions, or you feel like I could have done something better, or I missed something, give me a call. This is my number right here. It is on Skype. If you call it from a cell phone, it will go to this. So, call away. Oh, thank you, Yoji. I appreciate that. Yoji says, "This is perfect, Shan. I think you found your niche." And I like to think I did too. So, let's hope for many more episodes. If anybody wants to call in, have any things they want to input, any opinions, anything that they think, like, Emmanuel Sanders is going to come back from his injury and he's going to, do everything that he wants. Or if you have some weird, opinion that you don't think anybody would listen to, I mean, I'm all ears. If you guys haven't, well, I know you guys haven't, but here's my business card. Pretty sweet. I love it. Can't wait to hand them out. So, I'm really not wanting to end it just yet. However, I don't have any more information to give. So, if you would like to call in, you can do so now. I'll probably just sit here for about another 7 minutes. You guys just sit here and laugh at me. So, Oh, I had a lot of fun tonight. Had a lot of fun. It'd be different if, like, you know, people weren't open to suggestions. They didn't care to hear opinions. But, you know, I love it when people can tell me I'm wrong, or, you know, people can, you know, be hard and throw hard questions my way and all that. You know, I don't know all the answers, but it cites me in the fact that, you know, I might know it, or if I don't know it, I can go look it up. So, just things like that, you know. That's the reason why I did this stream, is because I wanted to get people involved in something that they like doing, and a lot of people like doing fantasy sports. So, you know, for me to get the whole list of Excel, it was like the list that I downloaded from Excel. So it was like 430 people. I highlighted all of the players down that list. Checked and saw what their stats were. Got their stats and clicked to it. Got the time possession. Got the time possession, individual stats, the over/under, all of that stuff, and the defense rank, offense rank, stuff like that, because I want you guys to enjoy what you're doing. I mean, if I went and picked, you know, if I went and picked out Aaron Rodgers because, you know, he's the second best quarterback in the league, well, he's playing Denver, you know, in a couple of days. So why would you go and pick him if he's playing Denver? Well, you know, I can lead you into that and tell you, oh, well, you know, a couple of these players are not going to be playing this week. And, you know, if you pick him, well, what about the running back? What about, you know, what about this and that? So I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of an edge on what's to come next week, or this week, on Sunday. So, you know, I spent about 30 hours on this altogether, and I plan on doing it every week. I love it. I mean, it's fun. It's really fun to me. So, well, I know I said I'd be on here till quarter after, but looks like no one's wanting to call in, so I'm probably just going to end it short. 2 minutes. Sue me. You guys have a great night, and thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please, there we go. If you haven't yet, please follow this account on Twitter. That would be mine, and it will let you know of all of the broadcasts that I have coming up, what times they are. I usually give about a day notice, and then I do it that morning, and then about 10 minutes before I go on air, I will let you know. So please, give this a follow, and I hope that you liked it, and